some argue maybe because there's not enough of it, right? That is being done, or not enough discussion across a broad spectrum of like perspectives. Yeah. Next slide. Yeah, I think that is all that I have in terms of presenting to you the different kind of sociological works that are out there that I think researchers of the homeschooling landscape can emulate and model their work after. Thanks.
Thank you, Professor, and thank you, Kosam. Please stay. We have two speakers from America. They will answer you, give you insight about the law of American. How do they do homeschool, and how does the government legalize homeschool? And for the point of research, actually, I'm trying my best to fill in the literature gap in Hong Kong, in mainland China, maybe in the future beyond to Singapore.
That's good.
Okay, so thank you so much. So Teresa, Dawn, it's your turn.
Oh, hold on. Yes, hi. This is Dawn Kogan and Teresa Hansen, and we're working on sharing our screen. So
yeah,
it's right here.
Yeah, down there.
Okay. Sorry. Please give chance of like 5 minutes to teach you how to use the translation. We have involved. We have an instant translation from English to Chinese and also from Chinese to English. Let him teach us how to use it first. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, this is Chance. If you look at the I took a screenshot and I share that to the chat window. You can see that. So the way that you do the screen sharing is really simple. You click on the share screen on the bottom, the left, the most bottom.
Can you share screen? Show us.
If you're using it for the first time, you probably will be. Oh yeah, there you go. And then if you would like to, yeah, I mean, if there are other languages, you can click on the upper left. You look at the window of the upper left. You can see there is a button. It's called transcribing. If you click that, you will see that there is a interface, popping out from the right side. It's a little bit anti-human design. So you click on the transcribing button on the upper left, then you should be able to see the real-time. There is a real-time, extra tab window appear alongside the chat window. There you click on the real-time translation, and there is a gear button. And then the gear button, you click on that, there will be a, like a source language. You put it on the auto detect, and then under translation, you click on.
Is it possible for you to show us the translation as well?
I can only take screenshot and explain. Yeah. So.
Where did it go?
Yeah. Let me see. So this under the translation menu, you have 2 options: Chinese, English. If you are speak your native language English, you pick English. If your native, 如果你的那个母语是中文，你就选这个 Chinese 就好了。对。So that's the translation means that the target language. So you pick Chinese, it will appear Chinese, and if you pick English, English will show up in the real-time transcription. Yeah. So and you also have the option to click on the bilingual. So I'll take a screenshot for this option as well. Once you have the real-time transcription and translation show up. Yeah. Hold on a second. The screenshot is coming. Okay, I should be able to show you the screenshot. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's a little bit tricky. Yeah, first the screen sharing, and then the second you need for the real-time transcribing, you need to pay attention to firstly pay attention to the bottom on your left upper upper left side, and then you look once you click the transcribing, you look at something pop out from your right side where you see the chat and also real-time real-time transcription window. Yeah. So yeah, let's get.
So it's the setting, right? Is the setting one? Point the setting one on the right hand side,
Left-hand
bottom
side,
side, right?
You-
Then
You need to turn on the transcribing on the
yeah,
upper
and
left
then
hand. Yeah.
and then you select transcription, and then if you want to do English, and then the first one is Chinese, translate into Chinese. The second one is translate into English.
Yeah.
Just like that. Okay.
Yeah.
And then do I have to press any button
check.
after done?
I don't think so because let me double check. And I'm speaking English right now, and I should be able to see myself in Chinese. Yeah, that's working. I saw my old, I saw my old Chinese translation.
Okay. Thank you so much, Don. Now it's your turn. Thank you.
Okay, let me share my screen. Before we get started, we would like to thank you, Dr. Lai, for inviting us and taking an interest in our experience as homeschool moms here in Alaska. It was a joy to meet you this winter, and we're hoping that it won't be the last time that we get to meet in person.
No,
we
I will
also
go there to see you again, definitely.
Yes, and we really want to thank Kelsim Haron and Kamal Nasir, and I hope that I pronounced those correctly. Did I pronounce those
Yes,
correctly?
yes, you did. Thank you very
Okay.
much. Yeah, thank you
Yes,
for
you're
your
welcome.
presentation.
Yes. Okay, here we go. We're going to share our, hold on just a moment. Okay. There we go. Okay, so what we're going to talk about first is how homeschooling became legalized in 1997 in Alaska. And prior to this, families who wanted to homeschool did so independently, and they did not receive government funding for many years. And today, parents have the right to homeschool through state-funded correspondence schools, which are located in major cities all around Alaska. And I am the school administrator for one of those offices here in Fairbanks. I have over 20 staff that I supervise, and most of them are certified teachers. And we have support staff as well. We have a technology department in each of our offices around the state. We currently have 7 offices in major cities, in Anchorage, Juneau, which is our state capital, Fairbanks, Kenai, Homer, Palmer, Eagle River, and I'm trying to think, did I miss any? Mat-Su, which is a growing community. And so right now we serve over 7,000 students statewide, and that's just our program alone. There are several other programs serving students around the state, which equates to over 20,000 students who are receiving state funding for education. The state actually gives an allotment. Basically, each program decides how much to give per student. But our program gives right now $2,700 per student. And parents have the right to teach their children at home and to hire instructors such as tutors or math teachers or art or piano or any kind of music instructors, physical education like martial arts, or pay for ground school, private pilot instruction. And parents are really in the driver's seat. They're the ones who are in charge of their child's education, writing their individual learning plans at the beginning of the year. And at any time, if they want to change that plan during the year, they can do it. They just submit a form called an amendment. And then we have an entire department dedicated to student records that helps keep students' transcripts up to date. And a lot of our students are going on to colleges even during high school. My daughter started college when she was a freshman in high school at the age of 14. She graduated from high school with over 30 college credits, and the state funds actually helped pay for those classes. So we'll move on to the next slide. If you look at the geography of our state, right here in the middle is where we are in Fairbanks, and they call us the Golden Heart City. We're actually one of the coldest in terms of climate compared to the rest of the state. And anything above Fairbanks inland, the whole upper part of our state is very unpopulated. We have little pockets of villages in different areas. And you can imagine none of them are on a road system. It's you get there by boat or snow machine or dog sled or plane. And so the importance of that is that for the history of education in Alaska, when our nation decided that, or, you know, we have a mandate from the federal government to make education equal for all students in our country. But how do you make it equal when you don't have a school building in a small remote area like a village where maybe the population is anywhere from 5 people to maybe 1,000? The state can't afford to build a big, huge building for every little pocket of, you know, people. So that's when correspondence schools really took off. And that's why our program in its first year in 1997, we had over 1,000 students suddenly enrolled. And we have increased that every year for nearly 30 years. So we have quite a history now of homeschooling here in Alaska. Now, there is a difference between independent homeschooling and government-funded homeschooling. So I'm going to turn it over to Teresa Hansen, who's a published author of a book that she wrote how many years ago?
26.
So that tells you how
25.
long she has been in this homeschool endeavor, and she'll explain the difference.
So basically, before 1997, we were with the state of Alaska, we had to register as a private school, which is what we did. And then all we had to do with the state of Alaska at that point was just to send in the thing, what our attendance records would be. And then in 1997, they did away with that requirement. And so, and that's when the government funded correspondence schools began also. And we did independent homeschooling ourselves because we bought our own curriculum. We made our own curriculum. We didn't have any constraints put on us, except if they wanted to go to college, they would have to meet the Alaska requirements for graduation from high school. The government funded homeschooling, which is what Dawn works for, is they're considered correspondence and they're public school students. But the parents don't have to purchase the curriculum, and they don't, you know, and most of the participation in extracurricular activities, but they're constrained. They have a lot more control over your child's education, and you have to be much more accountable for what you do. And so back in the day when we had a lot of independent homeschoolers, we would do things like curriculum fairs where we would trade or sell our curriculum to other people who needed it after we were done with it. And it's for independent homeschooling, it saved us personally a lot of money that way.
Thank you. So ironically, I was one of the people that bought her curriculum, and this is the first time that we've been back in touch with each other after all these years. And now our children are grown.
Right.
And to be honest, I had to sign up with a program because our family was very poor and we couldn't afford to pay for curriculum out of pocket at that time. So it really worked out well to go to her curriculum fair every year because her boys were just a little bit older than my children. So when they were done with their curriculum, we bought it from them at a reduced price, and that helped us stretch our dollars. So what does government funding look like? Well, student allotment, which I mentioned right now, is $2,700 per student from our school district, can cover technology items like computers, printers, iPads, iPens, Apple products, Dell, PC products, testing materials, paying for testing online, certified teacher support. Every family is assigned one certified teacher, and that teacher helps with all of the children in each family. We can pay for their textbooks, any tutoring classes, lessons in art, foreign language, music, and physical exercise, science kits, field trips. And our office, each of our offices has a library where families can check out materials and books and resources, things like science kits, microscopes, and so on. So the first year that I started homeschooling, I didn't want to homeschool. My husband moved us from the city out into the country to his family's homestead, 160 acres. My closest neighbor was 2 miles away, and I felt isolated, and I didn't have a car or television or a telephone. My husband sold our car and bought me a washing machine and an oven. And I was out there with 2 little kids. My oldest was 5 years old. My youngest was 2. And my oldest is a girl and my youngest is a boy. And so this is our first year over here on the left. We went to Cyberlinks, which is a different correspondence school than the one I work for now. And this is that first day of signing up and going in and talking to my contact teacher. And 2 years later, after struggling to learn how to teach my own children and having the courage, because I really did not believe that I could do this, I fell in love with teaching. I did not know that I was a natural born teacher until after I homeschooled my own children. And from then it just took off. And every year I grew in the knowledge of curriculum and materials. And probably the most important piece is that I found other like-minded families. There was one family living in that area that was 2 miles away, and they were homeschooling their children. So we were able to get together in the afternoons and go skiing on trails that we made around the hills and around the hay fields on the homestead. And we had such a wonderful life. The mornings were spent, we had a regular schedule where we would get up in the morning early, do our chores, our devotionals, our breakfast, and then we would move into math. And then we would take a brain break between each subject. And then we would do our language arts, reading, writing, spelling, take a lunch break. And in the afternoon, we would get together with this other family and do unit studies on history and science. And we would do our skiing and any other like art projects, things like that, music lessons. So we made root beer. We did a lot of baking and sewing and music. And we grew a very big garden and we lived off the land. We had every kind of vegetable you can imagine that grows in Alaska. And my daughter was in the Northland Youth Choir. They traveled outside of Alaska to the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, Tennessee. And we did violin and guitar and piano. And now I'll turn it over to Teresa for unit studies.
So I don't know if people know what unit studies are, but they center around one basic topic. And the ones that I've actually written several of them, and they have to meet the governmental requirements and the standards for Alaska. There's cultural standards that have to be addressed. There's science standards, math standards, geography standards, history standards, English language arts standards, and mathematical standards, which is not the same as math, it's critical thinking. And so I have found that I have 4 children that I homeschooled, and they were all born within 6 years. So they're all very close in age. And I found that every single one of them is a completely different person to teach. And one of them was dyslexic, which she inherited from her dad. And she had a hard time learning things. And so basically, if it had anything to do with the ocean, particularly whales, and anything that had to do with the cosmos, like the moon, the sun, the stars, eclipses, constellations, any of that, she could learn it. And so we wrapped a lot of her education around those kind of topics because she was motivated. You know, she didn't take regular biology, but she took marine biology because that was the ocean. So there's ways to play the game. And these are some of them that I wrote. I used to work for a tribe, Alaska Native tribe here in the interior that it has about 50 people. And I wrote, the Upper Kuskokwim region is where they live, which is about 200 miles away from Fairbanks. But our weather and our topography and the boreal forest that we live in, we're pretty much exactly the same. And so, like you can see the first one, bird hunting, it's all about, hunting birds, ducks, spruce, grouse, sprouse. And then like the fishing, gathering, like berries and foraging for different plants. Moose hunting is a very big deal here. It's a way of life and it's a major food source. So I wrote a whole curriculum on that. And then also trapping is a big deal here too. And so these ones are written, and those are, you can see the address in case anybody ever wanted to look at those. And then these are other ones that I wrote. Yes, naturally, how to use a rifle, of course. and traps, different kinds of traps too. There's a lot of different kinds of traps, and fishing. But these were other ones that I wrote that were more environmental, more environmentally, pointed. Drinking water and sanitation is a big deal in rural Alaska. Waste management, water quality. We did. With the tribe, we did 12 years of water testing the rivers that they live on. And then the traditional foods and the kind of contaminants that can get in them. So that's that. Okay, your turn.
So one of the things that I have come to realize is that when we live and where we live affects how we live. And so here I am in the Arctic, in a pretty secluded area, trying to teach my children. And when I could go to town into the city about once a month and get resources. And so what I learned is that my classroom was the great outdoors. My classroom was the trees and the gardening and the seasons that come, the winter, the fall, or the winter, the spring, the summer, and the fall, and how I took advantage of those years was embracing the environment that we were in. And so how can students learn in the real world? Well, we have students that are excelling in academic decathlon and pentathlon. These are basically unit studies where they the National Academic Decathlon Committee picks a topic. And each year there's over 500 pages that each student studies, and then they compete with other schools about their knowledge of this topic. And this coming year the topic is the Roaring 20s. And so we learned about animal migration and barriers to animal migration. What we started studying all the animals that move around the world, above the ground, on the ground, and below the ground in the oceans. What's happening in the spring when birds and whales and any type of animal that's migrating. In Alaska, we have caribou herds that migrate. We have salmon that starts out in the oceans and makes their way into the rivers, into the interior of Alaska. And this is a great source of food for our people. And so we embrace these things. We studied insects that we collected in glass jars from the ponds and researched them in encyclopedias. This is, in some cases, internet was difficult. We didn't have internet, so we had to use encyclopedias instead of internet to research. Beekeeping. My daughter was allergic to pollen, and she developed a very severe asthma and problems with pollen. So I went to a class and learned about beekeeping, and I realized, oh my goodness, somebody said that if she took a teaspoon of honey a day from within 50 miles of where we live, that she could develop an immunity to the pollen allergies. And I did it. I bought a gallon of honey at the farmer's market in town, gave her the teaspoon of honey a day, and the next year she was able to be outside playing and helping me in the garden more than ever before. So beekeeping became a very important part of our lives, and it helped to pollinate our crops better. Our produce that we could grow just quadrupled in the amount after we started beekeeping. Families can build their own computers, getting the components of computers and building those from the ground up. Drone piloting, gardening, and soil chemistry, testing your soil before you plant your crops, using that data so that you have success, because our season for growing things is very short, about 3 to 4 months. And if you don't have the right soil and the right types of plants with a shorter germination and an earlier yield, you will not have success in Alaska. So our students are learning ground school, getting their pilot's license. They're getting their ham radio licenses. They're working in clubs and groups with Minecraft and robotics programs, parent workshops, helping parents learn about new instructional strategies for teaching math, reading, science, social studies, writing, composition. They do their core subjects at home, and then they come to our office, and we have 3 large workshop spaces where they can do social learning and applied science and math and history. And then there's the trades. Our students have opportunities to learn introduction to construction, electrical, heavy equipment mechanics, operating machinery, and welding. And the list goes on. So 2 years ago, our high school robotics team took first place in the world for robot design. And one of the key components to that robot was 2 carbon ski poles that they cut at about 1.5 feet each to help with the design and the mobility of their robot. So they actually went to Houston, Texas, and competed against teams from all over the world and came back with that international championship. We have students starting in robotics in kindergarten, and they work in this junior robotics level until 3rd or 4th grade, and then they graduate to first Lego League, which is working with Legos and building their robots with Legos and then coding and programming them to create missions. And we have teams winning every year at the state and going to national and international competitions. Right now, we have 2 teams. One of them is an all-girls team, and the other one is a combined high school team, both boys and girls on that team. And then when they graduate from the first Lego League, they go into First Tech Challenge, which is at the high school level. Our students are going on to get degrees in engineering. They're becoming doctors, published authors, and so much more. And then we already talked about animal migration, but I want to explain that we can segregate the disciplines, and we can just teach math as a standalone and just teach history as a standalone and science and so on. But if we find a way to connect the disciplines, that is much better for the brain. And the neural pathways that are created when you find connections between the arts and history and math and science and all of it, that's far better for our children. So we have a workshop where we have families bring in their garden soil, and we have all the chemicals and the techniques for testing their own soil so they can go home and know what they need to do to the soil, whether they need to add more nitrogen, phosphorus, change the pH, or add potassium. And we spent years growing this garden here, and we're encouraging families to also learn how to run irrigation systems that are on timers to save on water. And we all like to go fishing for a week or 2. So while we're away fishing, the water is on a timer, and it waters for us while we're gone. And so now I want to share a video of our beekeeping.
It probably pop out to somewhere else. You need to, switch where you share. Yeah.
What's that?
You probably need to stop sharing this screen and try to see where that link is popped up to. And also under your share screen, there should be a share PC audio option. Make sure that it's on so that everyone can listen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Share PC audio.
Yeah, the same button in the share screen, you click that, and then there is a popped up, and then you can see a option. Just make sure you click that.
Okay. Yes, I see the share audio now.
Yeah, and then you switch over to the YouTube video. It probably already automatically open up to another browser. Yeah, on the same desktop. Yeah.
Okay. So hold on a minute. Should I stop the video and then go to a different browser?
Exactly. Yeah, you stop the screen sharing and then you use
Okay.
you and then you share again. But before you share, make sure that you pick the right window to share. Yeah.
No,
Okay.
it's this one.
This one. Okay. Let's try that. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's
There we
see.
go. Yeah.
You got it? Okay.
Cool.
Okay, hold on a minute. Okay. Let me get back into the PowerPoint. Okay. Okay, so hydroponics. One thing that's really important about being able to grow your own food in Alaska is that we don't have a lot of food security here. We rely on trucks and planes and boats bringing us food. And if there was a breakdown in our transportation system, we
Like
would,
there was during COVID.
right, we had no food on the shelves in terms of fresh food. And even our dry foods were very limited. So it's important that people can grow their own food in their own houses. But how do you do that when it's 30 below? Well, you use hydroponics. And we teach families how to grow their own food so they can be more self-sustainable. Now, I'll turn it over to Teresa.
So I wanted to point out a little bit about how you can make your own transcripts. I made this transcript for one of my kids, and over on the bottom right, the large amount of yellow, those are all the classes that she took during high school that she took up at the university. And so when she actually started college, she was already a second semester freshman, which wasn't quite as far along as your daughter was, but it was still substantial. And she was always into acting and drama ever since she was a little girl. And so she would go and get into plays. And so like the one above the course study for over on the upper right, she was in a play, and so she had to go through the whole process of rehearsals and acting and all of that, and so I gave her credit for that. And then she also was interested in emergency medical stuff, and so she signed up with a volunteer fire department, and then they did classes on emergency trauma training, and so she got a credit for that because that lasted a half a semester. And then down here, this is a point where I have, like I said, 4 children within 6 years. And there was a point during that year where I kind of burned out. And so we did what was earlier referred to as kind of unschooling. I kind of stopped a bunch of stuff and we just did things that we wanted to do, and they chose what they wanted to do. And so we learned music theory, and we did art, and we did drawing, and so the internet was still, intro to internet, word process. I mean, it was more stuff that was, you could do, you know, with when you're having fun, and this, you can still get credit for it. So I just wanted to show you an example of a transcript that I made that the university here in Fairbanks, they accepted this and they didn't have any problem. And also you can start at the university here at 14. And so that's what they did. So I'll give you my conclusions. This is my firstborn. She graduated with a degree in theater and a minor in film. And she is successfully earning a living voice acting, recording audiobooks for authors, and has published her own books. And like I've always told my children when they were growing up, there's a saying that says, you should be able to have your cake and eat it too. And so what I've always taught them, that what that means is that if you're going to pursue something in life, make sure it's something that you love to do, because you should enjoy your life. It's just the way it is. My second born is the one on the left there with the two guys. He was obsessed with everything that had to do with outdoor survival. And we also have a mine, a gold mine. And so it's a family gold mine. We spent all the summers out there. The kids grew up out there. And so he's also a mechanic, a welder, heavy equipment operator, problem solver, handyman, but he loves to cook. And so now he's a chef at a fine dining restaurant here. And I am the grandmother of 4 of his sons. And so number 3 joined the Navy and served 4 years. And that's where she met her husband. And she's the one that I had to do everything that had to do with the ocean and the cosmos. And she went on to get a degree in photojournalism. And she is currently a worldwide travel influencer, a professional wine sommelier, and the mother of 2. And she's currently writing articles about traveling with children in wine countries throughout the world. And right now, I mean, just this year and last year, her stories are being published in Food, Wine, and Travel magazine, National Geographic, she just got published in, and she just had a story picked up by MSN, just to name a few. And here's another one. She's doing what she loves to do. And she also, her and her husband own their own home.
Yes.
And this is my last born. This was my child that could not sit still, but I never put him on meds. When he started vaulting over the couch, I put him in gymnastics. He also grew up at our mine, and he's just as talented as his older brother. And right now he works for an international gold mining company here in Alaska, and he heads up the assaying lab. He is married and he has 2 children, and they also own their own home. And so, you know, success is measured by, in our lives, success is measured by being successful at the things that you want to do and how you want to do them. And so all of these kids are providing for themselves well. We'll go back to that one. So like I said, 4 children in 6 years. I decided to homeschool the oldest when she was 3 because she was already learning how to read. My husband worked full time, allowing me to be home and raise our children. And I homeschooled all 4 of them all the way from kindergarten through graduation from high school. We did join the program that she's now a principal at for 2 years and found that there were too many constraints. So we went back to paying our own way.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like we said earlier, we had curriculum fairs where we would sell or trade our curriculums with other homeschooled families here where we lived, and it saved us a lot of money. And I also literally wrote the book on homeschooling in Alaska. It was my master's thesis, and Dr. Lay has a copy of it, which I gave her when she was here in Fairbanks. And it's a story of the history of homeschooling in Alaska and how we got to where we are today. And so, it's kind of where that's at. Now we'll go back to your slide.
So, am I understanding that you have 8 grandchildren?
I have 8 grandchildren.
And I have 4. So the rest of my story is that these are my children. Here on the left is our daughter Kaylee, and she has her degree in English, and she works at Bryan College, a private Christian college in Dayton, Tennessee. And she is a mother of 3 children. There's 2 in this picture, and she just recently had another baby last November. Her husband is the director of technology at the college, and our son is Cannon. He is the foreman of a crew up in Prudhoe Bay and they're running pipe under rivers for putting in gas lines and oil in the oil industry. So he is the head of his crew. He's a welder and a pipe fitter. And he's 27, and both of my children own their own homes. They've been very successful adults. So what I would like to talk about right now is, I watching and listening to the other speakers today, it is inspiring to us, because one of the things that Teresa said to me is they're speaking our language.
Mhm.
In other words, they understand homeschooling. And if you're one of the people out there who is struggling with confidence about teaching your own children, we're here to tell you you can do it. And not only that, but the reason why homeschool students excel is because of the individualized instruction. What do you have to say about that?
Well, you're basically tutoring your kids instead of them sitting in a classroom with 30 students. You can find out exactly how each one learns, how they need to learn, what they want to learn, and then you can tutor your own kids. And I didn't think that there's a better way of doing it, because you instill the things in them, the creativity. They learn how to critically think. They learn common sense, which was a surprise to me when I realized that children aren't born with that.
Mhm.
And so you have to teach common sense, and then you can see, look at the world, and you can see there's a lot of lack of common sense going around.
Yes, and you get to teach them your values and your worldview. And that has been a very powerful part of our homeschool experience. And they each have their own gifts.
Mhm.
And if their individualized instruction allows time for them to do that, which homeschooling typically does allow, then they're going to be much happier, and they'll have more life skills as adults. And so we take a whole child approach. If we focus solely on education, then that becomes an idol in our lives. But if we look at the whole child, we will also take into mind their emotional, their social emotional needs, their spiritual needs, and so on. So basically, the message we're sharing is that relationship should always be priority over tasks. And so, I would say don't try to make your homeschool look like a building-based school or the government-run schools. Make it authentic. Develop a schedule that works for your family. Make sure to give your children breaks in between the core subjects, because their brains need a break. And if they can do something creative or hands-on in conjunction with a unit study where there's connections between the disciplines, that is, research shows that is much healthier for developing the brain. And enjoy the ride. In other words, make it fun. Teach them a love of learning instead of just learning and rote memory. Love of learning, a passion. Find what it is, like her daughter, for the cosmos and anything in the ocean. I was that kind of kid myself. I had to have hands-on. I was dyslexic. I was hyperactive. And our building-based model didn't work for me. But back in the time when I was going to school, there wasn't an option. I had to go on a bus, and I had to go to that public school, and it was stifling. I did my best learning after I got my college degree and started homeschooling my own children, when I could learn right alongside them. And our family thrived because of homeschooling. It gave us a lifeline. And we must not have a spirit of fear and allow that to drive us, but a spirit of hope and love and power and a sound mind. And so when you get into the groove and you find your schedule, and you will learn the instructional strategies that work, and you be consistent with your schedule, but be flexible. Be willing to change it up if you need to, and teach your children to love learning. You'll experience peace, and that's what we have to share with you today. Do you have any other closing comments?
I do. Yesterday when I was working with Dr. Lay and Chance, get this format on my computer so that we could, participate in this today. It took a couple hours. We were just talking, and one of the things that Dr. Lai was saying, that a lot of people, even with like master's degree, don't think that they can teach their own children, and wanted my opinion on that. And I said, well, all I can say is that if you can read, you can teach your children. That's all there really is to it. And what you don't know, you'll learn alongside your kids. And a lot of it, it's like refreshing. Like when I started working with algebra and higher mathematics, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this now, because it'd been a while. And so you always are learning along with your kids, and creating what I ended up finding that I created was children that have a love for lifelong learning. They're always wanting to learn. They're always wanting to learn more about whatever it is they are. And so, like I was also saying, that I read aloud books that were award-winning literary pieces, and it built their vocabulary. And even though the older ones had already heard that book read, every time I read it to the next one down, they'd all come and sit and listen to the story over and over again, because they all have a love of reading, and it's like, what more can you ask for? Lifelong learners and love of reading and love of creativity and a love of adventure.
Yes, and reading is the foundation of all disciplines.
Yeah.
So we did it. And we've got a couple short videos to share with you if there's time.
We only have a minute.
If there's not, then we can open it up for questions and answers. Dr. Lai?
Yes, please go on. How long is the video?
We have about 8 minutes of a video and then a website that I want to share with you.
Okay, please do.
Okay, I'm gonna have to switch out again.
Yeah, stop.
So I'm gonna stop sharing. Well, let me tell you about bedtime math.
Well, they still can't probably see it.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
You can see the chick?
I can see the word bedtime math. We inspire kids to love math, so they embrace and excel at it. Is that a link for you to click on,
Okay,
and then you go
hold
to
on.
season?
I'm gonna open up this other
Share screen.
share screen. This one. Okay.
There.
Okay, now you can see the chick.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a website that's really fun, and it's a free website, and it's called Bedtime Math. And what's really neat about it is every day there's a new word problem, and this is for your kindergarten through maybe 6th grade. And so the questions that come from children about the real world are taken by these educators, this team of scientists and mathematicians, and they create word problems for children that make math fun and engaging and hold the interest of our children. So you can see some of the topics. Is the world's oldest chicken older than you? Backwards brain bike, extreme equinox, good music, and when every door is a doggy door, and a day for wishes and tricks, speedy shirt switch, hitchhiker sheep. And kids are like, what? And they actually really want to get in here. So let's see. Let's look at good music. So what it is it's just a short word problem. Here's the word problem. We all like different music from each other. So what about cows? Scientists studied this a few years ago by playing music for cows to see if the cows made more milk during certain songs. They found that when listening to songs with fewer than 100 beats a minute, the cows gave 3% more milk. That means that in the time the farmers normally got 100 cups from them, they now got an extra 3 cups of milk. Even after discovering this, we still don't know why this happens, or more importantly, whether the milk and butter taste any better. And then there's 3 different levels of questions based on the word problem. So how this came about was that we found that in America, our students were falling farther behind other nations in math. And they did a bunch of research and they found out that it's because they don't understand the vocabulary of math. And so they thought, well, if we make these fun word problems that we will be able to develop an understanding of math vocabulary, and it's working. Studies are showing that this approach is helping students to stay engaged and learn more math vocabulary. Now I'm going to share a video that's very inspiring. Let me close that one out and go to this and get down here to the bottom. Okay. Gotta do this. Okay. Share. I can go to it, browser.
So 你们准备那个问题，等一下他弄完之后，你们就可以问问题。Chance, please be the translator for translate the question from Mandarin to English, or from English to Mandarin.
Here's the question. Okay. Okay, do we have a question?
I just asked them to prepare the question.
Okay, very
while
good.
you're fixing the computer.
Okay, now,
Can you see this?
no, I am not
We
sure.
see nothing. We see
Oh,
nothing.
hold on a second.
Okay, take your time. Take your time.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, now we're gonna share.
那你们觉得怎么样呢？他最后跟我们说，其实我们只会看字，我们就可以教我们的孩子，不要介意我们怎么学历要达到博士硕士才可以教孩子，不是的，我们跟孩子一起学习，这是最重要的。然后你看到他们教完孩子之后，他们自己也成长，他们的学历也增加，他们也找到他们喜欢做的工作，他们也是变成了教育家。这是一个过程，一个互相成长的过程，所以要珍惜它。这是 homeschool 的好处。We see everything. Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, my name's Jo Bowler, and I'm a Professor of Maths Education at Stanford University. These are some of my students.
Hi, I'm Brandon.
Hi, I'm Elisa.
Hi, I'm Monse.
Hi, I'm Jody. And we're here to tell you some really important and exciting facts about maths learning. The first, and maybe the most important, is that everyone can learn maths to high levels.
You may have heard that some people are math people and some are not, or that some people have a gift for math. But new brain research shows us there is no such thing as a math person. Everyone can learn math to any level they want.
Let's look at the brain evidence. We now know that experiences grow your brain. It is up to you how much you learn, as your brain grows and changes all the time.
When you learn something, a synapse fires in your brain. It's like an electric current. And when you learn something deeply, going back to the ideas and thinking about it, the synapse forms a new pathway in your brain. Synapses fire in lots of situations, not just in class. Pathways grow in your brain when you play a game, read a book, draw, and visualize.
Your brain is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the bigger it gets.
In recent years, there have been stunning examples of what scientists call brain plasticity. Your brain isn't actually made of plastic, but it's so flexible, it's growing and changing all the time.
A few years ago, a 9-year-old girl named Cameron had half her brain removed because she was having dangerous fits that doctors couldn't control.
The doctors expected Cameron to be paralyzed for a long time, maybe forever, since she lost the part of her brain that controls physical movement. But she shocked doctors and scientists, as within months she was running around again.
The doctors could only conclude that the missing side of her brain had, in effect, regrown.
In another study, researchers found that a 3-week program in which people work for 10 minutes a day on a task caused permanent brain pathways to form.
Think about that. If a 3-week program can do that, what do you think a year of math class can do to your brain?
That brings us to our second idea. It's really important that you believe in yourself.
We now know that your beliefs about your own abilities actually change the ways your brain works when you do math.
Carol Dweck has shown that everyone has a mindset, a set of beliefs about their own learning and potential.
People with a growth mindset believe anyone can learn and that they can grow their brains through hard work.
People with a fixed mindset think that a person is either smart or not, and that smartness is unchangeable.
A D-. I am not a math person. I just can't do this.
A D-. But that's okay. I'll learn from our mistakes and try harder next time.
These graphs show students' maths achievement in 7th and 8th grade. The students with a fixed mindset, you can see, stay at the same level, but the students with a growth mindset are always doing better and better.
This is because people who believe they can do something work in better ways. They are more persistent, they keep going when problems are hard, they don't stop when they make mistakes, they just keep going.
It is really important that you know that you can achieve anything and that you believe in yourself.
Something else we now know from brain research is that struggle and mistakes are really important. A research study found that when people made mistakes, their brains grew more than when they got work right.
Surely they had to work through the problem and get it right in order for their brains to grow.
Actually, no. The study found that there are 2 possible synapse firings. The first comes when you make a mistake, and the second one comes if and when you're aware you've made a mistake.
But how can your brain grow if you don't know you've made a mistake?
Well, the best knowledge we have on this is your brain grows when you make a mistake because it's the time that the brain is challenged and is struggling, and those are the best times for brain growth. It can feel hard as a math student to struggle and fail.
We've all had that experience.
But now you can feel good about the struggle because you know your brain is growing.
The most successful people in life are not the ones born with better brains. They're the ones who keep going when things get hard.
Michael Jordan is one of the world's greatest basketball players. This is what he has said about the importance of struggle and failure.
I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times, I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed.
Our next message is that speed is not important in maths. You don't need to be fast to be good at maths. In fact, it may be better to be slow with maths.
Some of the best mathematical thinkers in the world are really slow.
Lawrence Schwartz, a mathematician, wrote about feeling stupid in school because he was the slowest mathematical thinker. He went on to become a world-leading mathematician, and he won the Fields Medal, the greatest prize in mathematics. This is a quote from his autobiography.
I was and still am rather slow. I need time to seize things because I always need to understand them fully. Towards the end of the 11th grade, I secretly thought of myself as stupid. I worried about this for a long time.
He goes on to say that he later realized something critical, that speed isn't important in math. What is important is to deeply understand mathematical ideas and connections. Whether you're fast or slow isn't really relevant.
Stephen Strogat's another top mathematician at Cornell University. He talks about doing math problems in groups and being one of the last people to solve the problem.
The reason many mathematicians are slow is that they think deeply about math. Steve talks about being excited for the first time about a math problem in high school. He then worked on the problem for 6 months and eventually solved it.
It isn't important in maths to be fast. What is helpful in maths is to think visually and creatively. Maths isn't just about calculations. They may be the least interesting part. It's actually about patterns and space, seeing things differently and making connections.
Myra Mirzakhani is one of the most amazing mathematicians of her time, and she just won the Fields Medal. Her work is entirely visual and very creative. When she won the Fields Medal, other mathematicians talked excitedly about how she had made connections between areas of math that had never been made before.
In school, many people get the wrong idea that faster students are better at maths. But we know that being fast doesn't mean that. Often the faster students have memorised more, but we know that better memorisers don't necessarily have more maths potential.
No matter how math is presented in school, you should know that math is not about memorization and it is not about calculations. Math is a much broader subject, about ideas, visualization, connections. And don't think grades or test scores define who you are and what you can do. You can do anything.
Many school students don't reach their potential in maths because they think others are better than them. Always know you can do whatever you want to do. Your brain is growing and changing all the time. We want to leave you with these messages.
There is no such thing as smart people and not smart people. Anyone can work to high levels.
When you believe in yourself, your brain works differently.
Mistakes grow your brain. Struggle and challenge are really good for you.
It is not important to be fast in math. It is important to think deeply and creatively.
Math is a broad, creative, visual subject.
If you'd like to learn more of these ideas, we have a website called UCubed. Come and try some of our maths tasks that reflect real maths.
We are starting a revolution about math and the brain. You can help us spread the revolution by showing your teachers and parents our website and telling them what you have learned. Come to the students section of UCubed and tell us your experiences.
And most importantly, we believe in you and we want you to keep believing in yourself. It's really important.
Kasasa, Mount McKinley Bank's free checking account that pays you for banking with us. Visit mountmckinleybank.com for more details.
Save me. Don and Teresa, I love the video. It's inspiring. And also your talks, inspiring, especially the ending speech of both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So homeschool educator, 你们有没有问题要问? I'm asking, do they have any question want to ask you about homeschooling? 有没有 question? 有没有 question 要问? Do you have any question you want to ask?
我来请教几位老
好。
师。我讲一下我们家的8岁的一个小姑娘的 homeschool 的一个过程吧。她大约是在1年级的时候是半天的 homeschool， 但是随着时间的推移啊，她的这个学科超前学习。后来发现了，她进入2年级以后啊，特别是换了班主任以后啊，她和同学的关系非常的紧张。被女同学孤立，因为她上英语课和上数学课，都比较超前，所以说被班里的女生孤立，乃至发生了班里的女班长带着3、4个女同学抱成团孤立她，针对她，对她进行软霸凌。所以说呢，我们在上个月的月中的时候，刚开学2年级的下学期，我们就申请了全天的 homeschool。孩子呢，现在在家里面自学的方式，他学得非常开心，进度也非常的好。我咨询了很多的专业人士，包括心理医生，他们跟我说呢，孩子被孤立了不是孩子的错，但是呢，你应该让孩子去进入一个同龄人的社交环境。然后呢，很多的人都告诉我，孩子不能脱离一个社交的环境，特别是同龄人的。 但是呢，他每天呢白天学习，下午4点钟左右就出去和放学回来的我们一个小区的小朋友在一起玩。我说这样可以替代社交吗？那些专业人士说不可以。最好的社交就是回学校，然后告诉我1、2、3、3、2、1。这让我想起一件事情，大约是在半年前的时候，我参加我们学校的校董会，因为当时我在学校呢还有一定的职务。然后呢，有一个人跟我说，他说你知道吗？我们有一个高年级的一个女同学，她家里面记娃记得非常好，她的英语过了 FCE，然后数学也非常好。那个时候呢，我们家的进度还没有太超前。他说突然有一天，这个女孩就不来上学了，说是抑郁症了，确诊了，她就回家了，好可惜啊。我当时呢，半年前的时候呢，听过这个事情的时候，我只是觉得呢，可能这个孩子的父母啊，在鸡娃的过程中，可能给孩子太多的压力了。到今天为止，我突然想起了一件毛骨悚然的事情，细思极恐的事情。我觉得呢，鸡娃他的进度超前，但是导致他抑郁的一个最主要原因，其实就是因为他超前，被同学孤立，被同学软霸凌所造成的一个精神状态的不佳。鸡娃固然是原因，但是最主要的是社交出现了毒性。所以说呢，按照这个逻辑去看的话，如果说我们孩子半天的 homeschool， 他的学业超前了，然后呢，比其他的同学在课堂上的表现更活跃、更积极，然后呢，被同学孤立。因为我们不能要求一个8、9岁的孩子正确的面对比自己强的人，该用什么样的正确的方式。好，如果我们再要求自己的孩子按照所谓的传统的思想说，你不能离开同龄人的社交环境，你必须在学校，有可能像这类孩子，他就会出现半年前我那个朋友给我讲的这么一个痛心的案例。好在我在发现孩子比同龄人、比他们同班的同学，特别是女生3、4个人孤立和软霸凌之后，及时的约谈了校方，把孩子从半天 homeschool 转了全天 homeschool。现在看孩子白天学习自学，语文、数学、英语都没有问题，到了4点钟的时候就开心的像小鸟一样，到我们楼下和同龄的小朋友，因为他们都放学了嘛，在一起玩，玩得非常嗨。所以说，有些时候我认为啊，homeschool 的所谓的社交还要分是有毒的还是有益的。当孩子放在学校里面的时候，发现他的社交是有毒的时候，受到霸凌的时候，我们作为家长要及时的把孩子解救出来，然后让他在校园外 homeschool 的模式进行有益的社交。所以说现在呢，我想问老师，我们如何让 homeschool， 特别是全天 homeschool 的孩子可以进行社交，特别是同龄人之间的社交？网络包括平台或者是 vlog 呀，或者是油管啊，或者是 Facebook 呀，可以让孩子建立自己的同龄人的社交，来平替在学校内的有毒社交。好，我的问题，大约是这个样子。好，谢谢几位老师。
Chance, can you do the translation first, and then we will answer the question.
I think I can't do the whole translation, but let me summarize, right?
Okay.
What this parent described is her daughter's transformation from firstly her advancement in English and math kind of triggered some kind of envy from her classmate. Then she experienced a bullying and also all this drama at school. But lately he transformed her, transfer her from half homeschool to fully homeschool, and things, her situation getting better and better. And so the whole transformation itself taught me, taught us that socialization for homeschoolers are really critical, and we need to be able to distinguish between those toxic ones, especially typically seen in the public school, right? The relationship among these different the student who follow the so-called school track to whose progress on learning is on average, right? But those who follow the old track, they advance faster. And yes, this is one of the reasons. But the final question that he would like to ask is like, what are the general rules, right, to make homeschool kids more social? Yeah, and I think that's the question that I would like to ask myself as well. So what are the general rules, right? How to balance a kid's homeschool kids socialization? And this gentleman, he think that well, he discovered that her positive transformation showed that there is no issue for her daughter to fully engage with the people around them and the neighbors. So yeah. So Teresa,
Teresa and Don, do you have any suggestion for socialization for homeschool student, especially towards the same age homeschool students, socialize with the same age?
Yes, I do. For one, socialization is always a big thing that they try to sling at homeschoolers that's negative. But I look at socialization as how do you fit into the real world, which means that you can relate to adults and children and everybody of all ages, which public school students aren't as good as that. They don't usually, some of them have problems talking to adults and things like that. And so, but you also need to find like-minded people who have kids and do activities together with them. Like my kids, we had other families that we would do art with, and their kids were about the same age. We go to church, and there's a lot of kids at the church, and so they would socialize with them there. And also, what was the other thing?
Homeschool ice skate.
Oh yeah, my kids worked at the food bank, the local food bank, all of them together. We did homeschool skating, we did swimming, there's a lot of different things that you can do to interact with other kids.
And you can prioritize that. If you have a set schedule for your instruction time at home, what I recommend is you turn off your cell phone, you turn off any TV or anything like that that would distract from your time, so that when you're doing your learning time, you're very focused, your students are focused, and then in the afternoons, once they get their core subjects done, they learn that that's a priority to learn the core subjects first. Then they are awarded with social learning opportunities like robotics at the correspondence school, ice skating, skiing, any kind of music lessons, art, going on field trips to the university museum or the children's museum, swimming, any type of extracurricular activities. And I think the key to this is finding those families who want to homeschool and who are like-minded that you can do these activities with. You can build your whole life around homeschooling and create a co-op of people, and it will grow, because once people catch on and they see all the fun that your children are having, they will want to be a part of it, and they will be homeschooling, and you'll get to work together.
Chance, please.
I think they should be able to see the Chinese, right? 你们应该可以看得到那个。
看到那个中文吗？
对对，因为他
他看到吗？
real-time transcription。
其实 homeschool 的那个社交是没有问题的。你其实社交的意思就是你出去，你的 homeschool student， 你的在家教育的孩子可以跟不同年纪的人交谈，这是最好的状态。不是要做小朋友，就是要在学校里面跟小朋友去打交道。可是你不可以，那些小朋友不可以跟其他的年纪的朋友打交道，这是不对的，不 reality。 基于你的所谓的 professional 朋友跟你说，那医生跟你说一定要跟同年的人打交道，因为他们不清楚什么是 homeschool， 他们只清楚是学校的读书，他们没有 homeschool 这个 knowledge， 所以他们觉得出了学校就是不好，就是因为他们的看世界的眼界还没有够大，所以没有给到你正确的知识，所以不用担心。至于你说有没有其他方法，去多是那个 socialization 社交，我可以安排一些 online 的网上的 homeschooler 见面的机会，我会安排这个。如果我安排这个，你们愿意参加吗？你们给一个一个 indication， 一个指示我，或者有个星星上来。如果我组织这个小朋友一个人，我要多一些人参加，那我才会组织这个活动。我可以主办一个晚上的活动，一个指定的时间。那个小朋友可以交谈，这样好吗？这样也是那个可以社交不同的地方的小朋友交谈，这样可以学习言语，也可以交谈。至于你说在网上找，我觉得这段时间不是太好，因为这段时间很多那个骗子吧，对不对？那个 Facebook 也是真的很多骗子，所以还是要小心一点。这方面。
So another thought that comes to mind that Teresa touched on is that when you graduate from high school, the real world is full of people of all ages. If we are segregating people by age, then that's not as healthy, because it's important for elders to pour into the lives of our children. And it's important for our children to learn how to serve the elders. And they can learn so much because of the wisdom of older people. Also, it's important for them to help with younger siblings and younger people too. They learn how to care for the young. Then when they're parents and they're teaching their own children, they have skills from a young age. So the real world is made up of people of all ages, and homeschooling supports that.
对，他就是说，其实最重要的就是真实世界里面，你跟小朋友应该懂得跟不同年纪的人去相处。你见到老人家，你知道怎么照顾老人家；你见到小朋友，也知道怎么去照顾小朋友。跟老人家、跟大一点的朋友交谈，小朋友可以学到他们的智慧，学到他们的经验。在学校里面的环境，就是你就局限在一个自己同年纪的环境里面的学交，其实不真实的。我们出去不会？我是跟我同年纪的人打交道，不会的吧？我是会跟不同年纪的人打交道。homeschool 就是可以给一个真实世界的社交的环境给你。
Totally, I thought I would like to jump in. I wanted
Okay.
to add on to the points by Teresa, but I wasn't sure whether we're still on the same topic after you speak in Mandarin, because I think the transcribing function is a little bit off. So yeah, I agree to what like Teresa has mentioned about socialization and the value of having our children deal with real life situations and dealing with people who are younger than them, dealing with people older and who are older than them. And in my other presentations, I've actually shared about, you know, how even within the context of family, all these things can be clearly delineated. And our children actually look at us as role models when they see how we interact with our elders and how we interact with our friends. And I think that there's also value in our children being able to learn from as many teachers as possible. In school, they tend to have just like one teacher. In a primary school, perhaps one teacher teaches like all the subjects, like English, math, and science, for example. But when we homeschool, we go our children get to learn from different adults, right? And even sometimes we have like the older children teach the younger children. So there are all these different ways in which our children interact, which makes homeschooling a great way to for socialization. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. 他们有那个翻译嘛，对不对？
Yeah. I think there are more questions coming up on the chat, right? Yeah, we have how to find children's interest in homeschool and how to cultivate it. For example, for a 6 to 7 year old, right? She tends to be interested in everything, and how to help her to keep one or keep it longer enough. Yeah.
The chat, Don and Teresa, the chat, there is a question for the chat. Could you please answer the question?
Yes.
The first one is how to find children's interest in HS, homeschool, and how to cultivate it.
Yes.
I don't know how it really came about. It's just that when you homeschool your kids, you're with them all the time, and you just kind of need to watch them and learn what are they asking questions about, what are they interested in. You know, it's like, then that's where the relationship comes in. You got to know your child pretty good so that you'll know what they want to do, and you can always ask them what they want to do.
Right. So it acts as a springboard. For example, your daughter was very passionate about the solar system,
right,
and about the ocean. So you take what they're very passionate about and you do a unit study. You find the geography. You find all the different species of fish, and maybe even do some dissection, some hands-on, so that they can learn anatomy from dissecting an animal. And then you just keep looking for other things, art projects based on that. There's a lot of resources online. We have a resource called Teachers Pay Teachers, and they're very inexpensive unit studies and lesson plans. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You're actually using resources that other parents have tried, and you're able to incorporate that at home as long as you get the materials that you need to do it. And so when children are young, they have a shorter attention span. And one of the what happened there?
Oh, we didn't have our video on.
Oh, sorry. Thank you for telling us and helping us with that.
It's good to see your face. Visualize.
Yes, wonderful. So when children are young, they can't take in the amount of information that us adults do. So we need to be patient about that, and have a kind understanding of what they're capable of, so that they learn the love of learning, rather than that it's monotonous, it's hard. We want to set them up for success. Mm-hmm. If we criticize them consistently, they will have a much harder time learning to love learning, you see. And it's important to have relationship first, okay? once you have that relationship established, then you start exploring the real world together. As an adult, we lose our curiosity about the real world, and we have a hard time getting on our children's level, but their questions are important. And we need to look at them in the eye, stop what we're doing, and listen to them. And that is the beginning of helping them grow and develop these skills.
So this is very true. That they can read the translation. So I don't need to translate. And one of the homeschool educator mentioned before about the situation that one of the family, because in here the pressure cooking style of teaching parenting is very normal. So one of the mom pushed the kid to study. The kid since excel very much, but after half year, and then the children, the girl found that got mental stress. So yeah, so could you please comment on this, because this is so common to our culture. The parent pushing so much. I want success. I want the kids success. Success come first. Their high expectation come first.
So in that case, what we're doing is we're idolizing education and success over our child's emotional well-being. And that is stifling. You can have the smartest child in the world, and yet because of anxiety and fear and stress, they are stifled. And I see cases of this in Alaska, but they are rare because more and more people are understanding the importance of relationship first.
父母跟子女的关系是最重要的。其实我在家教育，我有24年经验，我也觉得爱是很重要的。教孩子不是要pressure 要你的孩子达到什么高度，要他怎么努力，每天读书，每天抽奖，不是这样的。你是用爱、包容，还有inspiring。还有你用自己去身教去教他，这是很重要的。不要激挖，不要激挖，激挖是不可以，激挖可以短暂的成功，可是你会带来一个很大的灾难，小孩的灾难，你自己的灾难，整个家庭的灾难，不要做这个动作。
Let me tell you a short piece about my story. Every year I wondered if I was doing enough for my children. Didn't you have that?
Oh, of course.
And so I always struggled with doubt and fear that I was doing enough. One year I put my daughter in the public government school. I put her in August, and by December I brought her home again, because in the middle of the school year, I realized that my homeschooling was far better, because when I put her in school, she was dealing with bullying of other kids from other kids. She was dealing with the teacher saw that she was at a higher reading level, and instead of challenging her, he had her helping to teach the children who were struggling with their alphabet, but he didn't put her in a group that challenged her. So she stayed at the same level all semester. And that was a hard thing for our family. And when I asked him to put her in a group where she could be challenged at least a couple days a week, he said, "Mrs. Kogan, your daughter is average, and that's all she's ever going to be."
Oh.
And that was in front of my daughter that he said that. Well, I want to tell you that when we brought her home, We were crushed. But we kept going and we kept reading and doing our unit studies. And do you know something? She graduated with honors and she had a lot of scholarship money, free money to go to college anywhere. And she went on to get her English degree. And we're getting ready to publish a book. It's a true story of how our family has overcome poverty, learning disabilities, childhood abandonment, and abuse and neglect. And we have overcome it. And homeschooling was a big part of that. So that's our story.
And that's because of relationship being
Yes.
most important over anything else, is the love between a parent and children.
True.
And
Totally
elders,
agree.
you know, I mean, it's the most important thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
When the love between the parent in the family is there, everything will come. The good
Yes.
thing will come. Yeah.
Yes. Faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love.
Mhm.
Totally agree. There is still another question from EK. Please have a look.
Yes.
I have a problem understand the question. It's more like a statement other than a question. EK 你是想问的是什么？就是我也不是太理解，因为我一般来说 so typically the 5-year-old I mean in my boy's case when he was 5-year-old he didn't have much screen time. So I think it's perfectly natural, you know, not touching any cell phone
Yes.
devices before 6.
Yes, that is a really good point. I've seen a lot of damage done to small children, young children who are exposed to screens too early in life. That is a very good point.
In terms of what kind of damage, could you please elaborate a little bit?
Yes, so
yeah, let's brought out the elephant in the room, TikTok. It's by China.
Uh-huh. I
Yeah.
want to hear Teresa's point of view. Like she witnessed a lot of damage for the young age people using the screen. So what kind of damage? Could you please elaborate on that?
Well, when I was raising my kids, there just wasn't a lot of screen time. There was videos that they could watch on TV or just TV because in the early 90s, there wasn't a lot of technology around. And like the handheld games, they only got to use those when we were on a trip driving a car. Like for 1,000 or more miles, it had to be a long trip. And so I've, you know, you see kids, they put them in front of a screen and watch a movie to keep them busy and occupied when they're, you know, 2, 3, 4 years old. And then that's what they become addicted to. And that's what they want to do all the time. And then they become harder to teach because all they want to do is have screen time or play games.
So here's where the damage that people, it's kind of unseen until they get older. The damage is that they don't develop life skills.
Mm-hmm.
So their dexterity, their physical capabilities, and mental capabilities aren't developing. And so have you ever heard the statement, use it or lose it?
Use it or lose it. Please
That
explain.
means-
It's a sport,
Yes.
right? Use it or lose it. But yeah, my mom is an athlete. She taught me that. 就是如果你不用就会失去，对。She played basketball. She's a basketball athlete herself. Yeah.
And academically speaking, if we don't expose children to some foundational skills in certain times of their life, they struggle with that the rest of their life. So timing is important, right? Screens.
So for that, I have additional question.
Yes.
Is it a critical time, right, before 6 or 7? You know, if the kid doesn't, or certain age beyond which the kid is not accustomed to long form information like reading long passages, right? Reading aloud, right? What happened? What if that kid, all he used to is to, checking TikTok, short video, short form information, instant gratification out of these flashing, information.
Yes.
So can you explain, or
Sure.
what I heard? Yeah.
So a child can learn to read at any time. We have adults who learn to read because they didn't learn to read as children. Where it really affects us when we don't learn to read between the ages of 6 and 10 is that our processing is slower. The neural pathways, it just takes longer for information to get from one place to another in our brain. And so, but the screens are definitely an issue. And teaching children discipline with screens is very important. Using screens as an award or a reward for hard work in other disciplines is really good, because it's limited. You will only use this for 30 minutes a day, maybe 5 days a week, and then on weekends you're doing real life things like sewing, art, cooking, baking, carving wood, maybe you're doing printmaking or whatever types of arts, or hiking, getting out in the outdoors and in the natural world, right?
Right. And also
Or any
taking
kind
the
of handy
screens,
job, right? Yeah.
take
In my
the
son's
screens
case,
away from the kids.
yeah, in my son's case, he loved his long-time hobby for the past few years. He's a mountain bike. He assembled mountain bike. He sourced the part from the internet. He helped his friend to fix the mountain bike parts. Everything about mechanical stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
Handy job, right? He's been keeping doing it daily. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
And I guess that's how he balanced his old screen time. Yeah, we do have iPad for him, but he kind of, discover a way to balance out, right? His outdoor time, and also his handiwork job every day, and also his screen time on iPad to learn stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
I would like to jump in, Dr. Lai, because the question
Okay.
asks whether screen is essential for homeschooling. I really, really agree with the other speakers about the fact that we should limit screen for, especially at a young age, because I feel that it will cultivate the sense of short attention span, which will make it difficult for them to, to focus when in doing work. But raising teens, and especially in this age, and now that especially after the primary school education years, whereby my children have like online classes and things like that, is getting very difficult for me not to allow them to make use of screens. So because the question is whether screen is essential for homeschooling. At a later age, I think that there will come a time whereby it becomes essential.
Yes.
But the point is that at a young age, they need to develop a healthy relationship with the media, with technology. They need to understand how to use technology, defend themselves, protect themselves, make sure that they are not, they won't be subjected to abuse, to all this like grooming, all these bad things are happening. So all these foundations need to be laid really, really well before they reach the teen years, whereby I think screen will become quite an essential part of learning for them.
And teaching your children balance at a young age is very important.
Yes, definitely.
And teaching them discipline and what their priorities are: relationship, self-care, like getting enough sleep, eating right, keeping your body clean, protecting yourself from predators, you know, like
Yeah.
grooming and things like that. And health, you know, and like sexual education was brought up, and how it's taught. I believe that it's the parents' right to teach that at home. It's not the government's responsibility or place to teach our children about sex ed. And because if you incorporate self-care and balance, they will learn this from a young age, and then they will implement it in their own life.
Right. That's right. For the sex education, maybe to Chinese is shock. Teach sex education. It's a well culture thing, culture difference. We tend to be very shy to talk about the sex.
Dr.
Well,
Lai,
for me, it's
may I
natural.
add?
Yeah, I think I'm ready to do so. Once my boy, once I recognize something happened, you know, some chemistry actually happened within him. I'm gonna use, you know, the father's way. But of course, there are technology out there. For example, to exactly explain what exactly happened in his body, and what it means to have a feeling towards other people physically. And we also have AI, right? Because you can nowadays using AI technology developed by Elon Musk, like the Grok, you can even experience this kind of like a sexual talk, right, with other people. so AI can now can simulate, right, whether you hit on another boy or girl, and the AI can actually simulate those conversations already. So that's also one way to guide the kids through the whole experiences, I think, as it is, right? Versus being, so secretive about sexuality.
Yeah, you can create those simulation or whatever, and then we post on our hsa Hong Kong. Yeah, it's a certain curriculum for for teaching sex education or something. We can create
Yeah,
those
for
kind
sure.
of things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're going to
But
create
certain culture,
something and
they
post
would,
on that website.
yeah,
What
yeah.
那中国的在家教育的朋友，你们可以去到我们香港的 hsa.hk那个网站吗？可以进去吗？在中国那边
我们访问全球的网站都是可以的，
都可以哈。
哪怕比那个Great Wall Fire，我们也可以，因为我们家长的话就有使用科学上网的方法。
明白明白，这是我们香港在家教育的网站，有空的去看看，去看看。
我访问了，里面的内容非常的优秀，一直是我实践的指导的理论的来源。
还有我们我也想邀请你们，如果你们有兴趣的，把你在家教育的故事，好像吴老师，好像 Chance 一样写出来，让大家知道我们是存在的，我们是怎么去做在家教育的，这是帮助其他普通人认识什么是在家教育，然后我们才可以让他们去接受在家教育。如果他们不认识，好像刚才的那个在家教育家长说，他的医生说他一定要去那个学校，如果不去学校就没有社交，待在家里是不对，因为他不懂什么在家教育。在家教育不等于没有社交，在家教育的小朋友其实很普通的，跟其他的学校一样，也有很多是给比学校的孩子更优秀，他们不懂。
那位心理老师，他也是来自于Normal School 的培训体系出来的，所以在他的思维里面根深蒂固的存在，孩子是不能脱离同龄人的，而且在mainland的这个地方，他们更讲究集体， 更讲究融入。如果出了问题的话，他们喜欢用这样的一种说辞，都是为你好。为什么大多数人不喜欢你呢？那是不是你自己的原因呢？不用集体否定个体的思维方式，乃至说家长会帮助学校一起去 PUI 自己的孩子。好在是什么呢？我不是那一类人，我及早的把孩子从软霸凌的集体环境解救了出来。但是半年前的那个故事，让我今天做了对比，深度思考之后，我挺为那个小女生痛心的。她的父母不但没有帮她，还要
霸
去
凌他，
霸凌她，然后
对
呢，胁迫她，或者说把她往火坑里面去推。因为
对，
对错不是按照人数的多少进行选票选出来的，对就是对，错就是错。你说斑马是白斑黑马呢，还是黑斑白马呢？这个世界有些时候不是按照多少来进行论断的。但是
对，
在
我真
mainland 这个地方呢，我们讲究太多集体，讲究太多个人的牺牲以及自我的 PUI。所以说呢，有些时候我们的案例在赖博士的网站上进行分享的时候，我们会非常小心翼翼的去抹掉可以暴露自己隐私的信息和细节，因为
你
homeschool 这个群体在 mainland 这个地方是属于政府严厉打击的，因为它触犯了法律，会被请去喝茶、商谈乃至罚款。如果被举报的话，会有相关的法律的依据进行处罚。它并不像美国，每个州可以自由的进行安排 homeschool。这一点呢，韩国也是不允许的。在亚洲的国家呢，新加坡好像也是不允许的。发现亚
新加
洲
坡是合法的，合法的，
合法的，
他们是他们有所有政府的资助，他们一分钱也不用的，是政府给钱的。
哦，那还好。据我们了解的话，韩国也是不允许的，除非是可以拿出医学方面的证明。所以说呢，在中国的某一个地方有一个区，它的某项精神证明的开出率特别的高。然后呢，其他地方人就调侃说：“你看这个区是中国的鸡娃大区，你看他们的孩子都已经鸡出来问题来了。”但是据我了解，这个区的父母他们特别的聪明，就利用了法律上的漏洞，大家都跑去医疗机构开具了厌学乃至抑郁症的这种医学证明，从而获得一个 homeschool 的自由的机会。就像在我们这儿购买房子需要离婚才能获得首套房的优惠，于是乎呢，一线城市的离婚率就大大超过了平均的统计线。
明白明白，就是为了得到那个政策的优惠，对不对？如果你不想在写你的故事出来的时候，不想
可以
写你
写，
的名字，
我们需要把很多隐私类的东西
你
进
你你不
行抹掉。
要放你的照片，不要放你的名字，你可以用 AB 去代表也可
对，
以，没有问题的。
乃至
可是吧，
说也不能去写在 mainland 这个地方，可能我们会杜撰为在马来西亚，或者是在某一个东南亚的一个国家。但是呢，它的人文环境呢很像中国，比如说孩子受到霸凌，以及和校方如何进行协商，最后约谈，最后获取 homeschool 的一个机会，他是怎么去解决社交缺乏的这种困扰的，怎么进行自我说服的，他从哪里得到的资源，比如说从赖博士的群里面得到小伙伴的抱团、温暖，以及赖博士一次又一次的组局的沙龙所给我们带来的实践上的指导，我都会有机会的话，如果赖博士需要的话，我都可以非常乐意的把它写出来，也是一种除了隐私以外，这个过程都可以进行客观的进行描述。
可以，我们现在香港就是尽力去推广那个在家教育，我们也接受了信部的访问，信部在香港是最有信用的报纸，那个登出来可能有一个很正面的对推动在家教育的那个 impact 那个方向，所以等他出来看看那个方向是怎么样。我们一步一步努力，正在努力。如果香港改变了，我相信也会影响中国的改变的。
霸凌这个问题对于任何一个政府来说都是不可以理解的，或者说带有污点的一种指证。所以说我们可能会把霸凌的这个事情扣在了马来西亚政府的头上。这就是整个亚洲我们捡了一个比较最老实巴交的一个政府进行欺负，我觉得我们对他进行了网络霸凌。或者说我们就采取一个 X 的方式，比如说
其实按照刚才嘉宾说的，其实美国一样的，就刚才那个是叫那个Mrs. Cogan， 她也说了嘛，她女儿其实也是跟您的女儿是刚才说的一模一样的经历。她刚才其实也刚好提到之前她因为她 homeschool 了一段时间，她的整个就是她女儿的整个就是表现，包括成绩啊各方面都会跟平均值，就是那些所谓的美国的公立学校的那些平均值是很不一样的，所以他当时他也是因为有这个，他就做了一个决定，也不去上那个他当地美国的那些公立的学校了。当然，就是他本地就阿拉斯加的这种气候恶劣是另外一个因素了。就他其实刚好刚才提到过，他其中一个孩子也是跟您经历的一样，其实我家也经历过类似的，只是说那个故事它细节稍微有点不一样，但其实故事都是差不多的。
差不多，好，我相信今天也是差不多了那个时间，我要再次谢谢我们的嘉宾，it's actually quite late. Thank you so much, Teresa, Dawn, and Carlson, and also your husband, Professor. Thank you so much for coming, being our speaker, and empower our society. Thank you. It's time to let you go. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.